Stages and levels. We have described 4 levels of reading, and we have also outlined 4 stages of learning to read in an elementary fashion. What is the relation between these stages and levels? It is of paramount importance to recognize that the 4 stages outlined here are all stages of the first level of reading, as outlined in the previous chapter. They are stages, that is, of elementary reading, which thus can be usefully divided somewhat in the manner of the elementary school curriculum. The first stage of elementary reading, reading readiness, corresponds to preschool and kindergarten experiences. The second stage, word mastery, corresponds to the first grade experience of the typical child, although many quite normal children are not typical in this sense, with the result that the child attains what we can call second stage reading skills, or first grade ability in reading or first grade literacy. The third stage of elementary reading, vocabulary growth and the utilization of context, is typically, but not universally, even for normal children, acquired at about the end of the 4th grade of elementary school, and results in what is variously called 4th grade, or functional, literacy, the ability, according to one common definition, to read traffic signs or picture captions fairly easily, to fill out the simpler government forms, and the like. The 4th and final stage of elementary reading is attained at about the time the pupil leaves or graduates from elementary school or junior high school. It is sometimes called 8th grade, 9th grade, or 10th grade literacy. The child is a mature reader in the sense that he is now capable of reading almost anything, but still in a relatively unsophisticated manner. In the simplest terms, he is mature enough to do high school work. However, he is not yet a mature reader in the sense in which we want to employ the term in this book. He has mastered the first level of reading, that is all. He can read on his own and is prepared to learn more about reading. But he does not yet know how to read beyond the elementary level. We mention all this because it is highly germane to the message of this book. We must assume, that you, our reader, have attained 9th grade literacy, that you have mastered the elementary level of reading, which means that you have passed successfully through the 4 stages described. If you think about it, you realize that we could not assume less. No one can learn from a how-to-do-it book until he can read it, and it is particularly true of a book purporting to teach one to read that its readers must be able to read in some sense of the term. The difference between aided and unaided discovery comes into play here. Typically, the 4 stages of elementary reading are attained with the help of living teachers. Children differ in their abilities, of course, some need more help than others. But a teacher is usually present to answer questions and smooth over difficulties that arise during the elementary school years. Only when he has mastered all of the 4 stages of elementary reading is a child prepared to move on to the higher levels of reading. Only then can he read independently and learn on his own. Only then can he begin to become a really good reader. Higher levels of reading and higher education. Traditionally, the high schools of America have provided little reading instruction for their students, and the colleges have provided none. That situation has changed in recent years. 2 generations ago, when high school enrollments increased greatly within a relatively short period, educators began to realize that it could no longer be assumed that entering students could read effectively. Remedial reading instruction was therefore provided, sometimes for as many as 75% or more students. Within the last decade, the same situation has occurred at the college level. Thus, of approximately 40,000 freshmen entering the city, University of New York in the fall of 1971, upwards of half, or more than 20,000 young people had to be given some kind of remedial training in reading. That does not mean, however, that reading instruction beyond the elementary level is offered in many US colleges to this day. In fact, it is offered in almost none of them. Remedial reading instruction is not instruction in the higher levels of reading. It serves only to bring students up to a level of maturity in reading that they should have attained by the time they graduated from elementary school. To this day, most institutions of higher learning either do not know how to instruct students in reading beyond the elementary level or lack the facilities and personnel to do so. We say this despite the fact that a number of four-year and community colleges have recently instituted courses in speed reading, or in effective reading, or competence in reading. On the whole, though there are exceptions, these courses are remedial. They are designed to overcome various kinds of failures of the lower schools. They are not designed to take the student beyond the first level or to introduce him to the kinds and levels of reading that are the main subject of this book. This, of course, should not be the case. A good liberal arts high school, if it does nothing else, ought to produce graduates who are competent analytical readers. A good college, if it does nothing else, ought to produce competent syntopical readers. A college degree ought to represent general competence in reading such that a graduate could read any kind of material for general readers and be able to undertake independent research on almost any subject, for that is what syntopical reading, among other things, enables you to do. Often, however, 3 or 4 years of graduate study are required before students attain this level of reading ability, and they do not always attain it even then. One should not have to spend 4 years in graduate school in order to learn how to read. 4 years of graduate school, in addition to 12 years of preparatory education and 4 years of college, that adds up to 20 full years of schooling. It should not take that long to learn to read. Something is very wrong if it does. What is wrong can be corrected. Courses could be instituted in many high schools and colleges that are based on the program described in this book. There is nothing arcane or even really new about what we have to propose. It is largely common sense reading and the democratic ideal of education. We do not want to seem to be mere carping critics. We know that the thunder of thousands of freshmen feet upon the stairs makes it hard to hear, no matter how reasonable the message. And as long as a large proportion, even a majority, of these new students cannot read effectively at the elementary level, we are aware that the first task to be faced must be to teach them to read in the lowest, the largest common denominator sense of the term. Nor, for the moment, would we want it any other way. We are on record as holding that unlimited educational opportunity, or, speaking practically, educational opportunity that is limited only by individual desire, ability, and need, is the most valuable service that society can provide for its members. That we do not yet know how to provide that kind of opportunity is no reason to give up the attempt. But we must also realize, students, teachers, and laymen alike, that even when we have accomplished the task that lies before us, we will not have accomplished the whole task. We must be more than a nation of functional literates. We must become a nation of truly competent readers, recognizing all that the Word competent implies nothing less will satisfy the needs of the world that is coming.